Hey everyone, Pastor Dressler here. Just another edition of SML Up Close and Personal. Okay, well, we're back after a week of extreme cold temperatures and bus cancellations and all that stuff. School being closed for a week. It's good to be back at it and have students and teachers filling the hallways once again. There's nothing lonelier than a school that's completely empty of people. Now that we're back, basketball season is in full swing. And we got some pictures of the girls' game here. They had a home game last week, and don't have any pictures of the boys' team yet. But they actually play tonight here at the school on Thursday after school. So if you're able to come and cheer them on, the boys would love to have a great audience and attendance supporting them. But yeah, great to see both of our teams. Actually, all three of our teams, our girls' senior team and our boys' junior and senior team, playing and competing in the local leagues. And we wish them well as their season goes on. I want to update you on EdCamp. We've been telling you a bit about this as we got closer to it. Well, we started yesterday. On Wednesday, we had a couple blocks that we set aside for EdCamp, and the students have begun to do some inquiry-based learning, which means they're a little bit more in charge of their learning. They're taking ownership or agency for their learning, and we present them with a problem in the form of a question. And their group, their house, received an envelope that was sealed, and they opened it up and saw the question they were given, and then they gathered in that house group, and they began to do some brainstorming as to, okay, how are we going to answer this question? Where can we find out information? What kind of research can we do just beyond an initial Google research, Google search? Who do we need to talk to? Who can we survey? Those sorts of things. So they've just started that process and kind of got up and running. Some were a little more frustrated than others. Some will hit roadblocks further down the road, but that's part of this learning is going through the process and figuring out how to overcome some of those obstacles that you encounter and not having everything nice and smooth for you the whole way. So we look forward to that as they will continue on Friday during the afternoon, and then hopefully, if we're able to, wrap things up on Tuesday. So I encourage you to ask your child about that and see what they're doing and how they're learning. Wanted to give you a heads up. You may have received a letter in the mail from Alberta Education. Looks something like this. Sometimes these letters just come out to students in grade 4 and grade 7. Sometimes they come out to everyone in the school. Depends on Alberta Ed. Have a look at that. Inside is a survey, and this survey is actually quite important to our school. It'll ask you all kinds of questions about our school, and this feedback we take and we plan for our next couple of years based upon this feedback. Alberta Ed looks at it as well. Also, special interest groups look at this, whether they are for or against private schools. Sometimes they use the information within these surveys to lobby government for or against private schools. So these surveys are quite important. Now, there is one question on the survey that often trips people up. And the question, and you'll recognize it when you see it because it asks about high school. And a lot of our parents don't know how to answer that question because, we don't have high school. It doesn't seem to apply to us. So a lot of parents will just choose don't know as their option. And we would encourage you not to do that, because what Alberta Ed does is any of the don't know responses are grouped in with the negative responses. We don't think that's fair because it's a bit of a confusing, unfair question. So we've asked Alberta Ed about this if they would change it. They are reluctant to clarify the question. They think it's fine. What they have said is parents always have the option of not answering that particular question. So that's what we would encourage you to do. If you're unsure of any question on there, you can just leave it blank, and then it doesn't affect our statistics in a negative way that you may not have intended to do that. If you have more questions on this, feel free to come talk to me at the school or email me or give me a call, and I can clarify it a little more. Just a few things that are coming up. Decades Day, we're encouraging kids, pick a decade and dress up like that decade, and we'll have a little bit of fun on the 30th. Also, the 31st, that Friday, is a PD day. There's no school on that day. On Friday and the Saturday, the staff will be renewing our first aid certification. So no school on the Friday for that day. And then just a reminder, parent-teacher interviews are not far off on February 6th during the evening and February 7th in the morning. So we encourage you to come out for that. If you're wondering if either of those dates are fine for you, usually the Friday morning is quieter, so you'd have a little bit more time to spend with the teachers, but whichever works best with your schedule. All right, well, that's it. Another edition of SML Up Close and Personal, and we look forward to seeing what's ahead with finishing off this week and the week to come.